Welcome back to our channel. In this video we are discussing the 10 things to know about new King Prince Charles. Following the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Charles became King Charles III, the oldest person to ever hold the British throne. After being crowned king, Charles will not only inherit the throne but also Her Majesty's private wealth. His coronation has yet to be scheduled. Charles, like Queen Elizabeth II, will be head of state for the United Kingdom and 14 other countries, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea. Queen Elizabeth II was the oldest and longest reigning monarch in British history, having reigned for 70 years this year. Buckingham Palace announced her death at Balmoral Castle, a Scottish summer residence, where members of the royal family had rushed to her side after her health deteriorated. Here are the 10 things to know about new King Prince Charles. Before we get started, make sure to like the video, subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon. Number 1. King Charles III was the first royal baby born at Buckingham Palace in the 20th century. On November 14, 1948, Princess Elizabeth was 22 years old when she gave birth to Charles Philip Arthur George, just 6 days before his parents' first wedding anniversary. Newspapers described him as a lovely boy, a really splendid baby, but CBC Radio's Matthew Holton reminded listeners that the newborn would not be king anytime soon. If his grandfather, the king, and his mother, the princess, both lived to be 100, Holton speculated, he may well be 50 or 60 years old before ascending the throne. Holton was more than a decade off. Queen Elizabeth II died when Charles was 73 years old. 2. King Charles III was just 9 years old when he was officially given the title of Prince of Wales. Despite being the longest-serving Prince of Wales, he could have held the title for a few more years if he had been appointed earlier. The title Prince of Wales is only bestowed upon a male heir apparent, and it is not automatic. When his grandfather died in 1952, Charles moved from third to second in line to the throne, but it wasn't until 1958, when he was 9 years old, that he was given the titles Prince of Wales and Earl of Chester. 3. People weren't sure if King Charles III would keep his name. Many monarchs, like popes, choose a regnal name that differs from their birth name, such as Charles' grandfather George VI, who was christened Albert Frederick Arthur George but went by Bertie for most of his life. And, despite being the most famous Charles in the United Kingdom for 7 decades, the previous 2 King Charleses did not fare well in British history. Because of his actions, Charles I was executed for treason and the monarchy was briefly abolished. His son, Charles II, spent time in exile until the monarchy was restored 11 years later. He was well liked, but he was also known for being a philanderer who acknowledged at least a dozen illegitimate children. And Charles Stuart, best known as Bonnie Prince Charlie and for the Jacobite rebellion in Scotland that attempted to place him on the throne, was referred to as Charles III by some. According to the BBC, Charles chose to keep his name. It was one of the first decisions he made as king. 4. King Charles III can play the cello. As a child, Charles studied the piano, trumpet, and cello, and despite describing himself as hopeless, he stuck with the cello and played in the Trinity College Orchestra while in college. 5. King Charles III's Secret Service nickname is Unicorn. Certain visiting dignitaries to the United States are assigned code names, and Charles was assigned Unicorn. The fanciful name is oddly fitting. The unicorn is Scotland's national animal and has been featured on its coat of arms for over 600 years. However, the first documented instance of a Scottish monarch using a unicorn as a symbol of strength dates back to the late 1300s, when either Robert II or III used unicorns as part of the arms and gateway of Rothesay Castle on the Isle of Bute, Scotland. Duke of Rothesay was one of King Charles III's first titles, bestowed upon him at the age of 5. 6. Richard Nixon tried to set King Charles III up with his daughter Tricia. President Nixon's eldest daughter, Tricia, married in the Rose Garden for the first time in 1971. However, the previous summer, her father attempted to play matchmaker with the future King of England. When Charles and his sister, Princess Anne, went on an unofficial trip to Washington, D.C., they were 21 and 19. They were treated like royal dignitaries, taken to museums and D.C. area landmarks, and given rooms in the White House. Charles slept in the Lincoln bedroom. According to Sally Bedell Smith's 2017 biography Prince Charles, The Passions and Paradoxes of an Improbable Life, the president arranged for Tricia to be seated next to Charles on every occasion, which irritated him. Even though he didn't get along with the first daughter, Bedell Smith describes her as artificial and plastic. Charles was amused by the president's efforts. On a visit to Washington with Camilla many years later, he was still laughing about Nixon's attempt at matchmaking. 7. King Charles III first met Lady Diana Spencer when he was dating her older sister. In his 20s, Charles had a reputation as a playboy, and any girl with a family pedigree was considered a potential princess, and thus media fodder. He met Lady Sarah Spencer at a party at Windsor Castle in June 1977, and the two invited each other to polo and shooting events. Charles visited the Spencer estate Althorpe in November, where he met Sarah's younger sister. Diana was 16 years old. According to Bedell Smith's 1999 biography Diana in Search of Herself, Portrait of a Troubled Princess, Sarah told a tabloid after going on a Swiss ski vacation with Charles in February 1978 that she was not falling for the then prince, saying, "There's no question of me being the future Queen of England. He hasn't met her yet, I believe." 8. King Charles III has a frog named after him. In the journal's Ataxa in 2012, a newly discovered, an endangered species of Ecuadorian tree frog was named Hylocertus princecalisi, or the Prince Charles stream tree frog. It was named after him to honor his rainforest conservation efforts. He has long been vocal about the dangers of climate change, and in 2007 he established the Prince's Rainforest Project as a charity and awareness campaign. 9. King Charles III wrote a children's book. In 1980, King Charles III published The Old Man of Lochnagar, a children's book based on stories he told his younger brothers, Princes Andrew and Edward. It revolves around an elderly man who went to the caves near Balmoral in search of a peaceful place to take a hot bath. The book was later adapted into an animated short film, which the king narrated. 10. King Charles III won't be coronated right away. Charles ascended to the throne as soon as his mother died. Although Charles' coronation, dubbed Operation Golden Orb, was planned before Elizabeth's death, it will not take place right away. The United Kingdom will first enter a period of mourning before preparing for the lavish, yet solemn, religious ceremony. Elizabeth II was not crowned until more than a year after becoming queen. Funny facts about Prince Charles. He was the first British royal heir to earn a degree. Prince Charles became the first heir of the royal family to earn a university degree in 1971. He earned his bachelor's degree from Cambridge University's Trinity College, and he also earned his master's from the same school in 1975. He has a really long royal name. His full official title is His Royal Highness Prince Charles Philip Arthur George, Prince of Wales, Kilogram, KT, GCB, OM, AK, QSO, PC, ADC, Earl of Chester, Duke of Cornwall, Duke of Rothesay, Earl of Carrick, Baron of Renfrew, Lord of the Isles and Prince and Great Steward of Scotland. He's horrible at giving gifts. According to reports, the Prince sent Ozzy Osbourne a bottle of scotch as a get-well gift in 2003. He only stood up to his father once. According to rumors, Prince Charles' father, Prince Philip, is a stubborn man, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that Prince Charles has only stood up to him once in his life. He's a children's book author. Believe it or not, Prince Charles wrote and published a children's book titled The Old Man of Lochnagar in 1980, which he originally wrote for his younger brother, Prince Edward. He's a distant relative of Dracula. Okay, so he's not actually a distant relative of Dracula, but he is a distant relative of Vlad the Impaler, or Vlad Tepes in Romania, the 15th century nobleman who inspired Bram Stoker's Dracula story. He's a picky eater, to say the least. He not only insists on having his eggs boiled for exactly 7 minutes, but he also requests tea, muffins, and 7 boiled eggs every day between 4 and 5 p.m. Thank you for watching the video.